The Circle. Okay, but written by Dave Eggers, and it has, as I said, it has to do with technology and the place and the role of technology in our lives. So, the first line in the book is, "My God is heaven." So this is spoken by the main character, who is May Holland, and she says, "My God is heaven." And the last line in the book says, "The world deserves nothing less and will not wait." So what happens in between these two is what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so what do you think happens? Any idea between heaven and...
Get your stuff.
So you think there's going to happen something negative, some kind of catastrophe, yeah?
Is it about like a movie? I saw a trailer and...
Yeah, I think there's going to be a movie, yeah. But I didn't take anything from the movie, so I wouldn't lead you into it. So yeah, so the idea is that between heaven in the beginning and the end, there's going to be something wrong happening. That's the feeling you get. Okay. So, as I said, the main character is May Holland. In the film, she's played by Emma Watson. Anyway, May Holland is the main character, and she graduated. She's in the early 20s, and she is working a job she doesn't like very much. She doesn't enjoy it. She's working at a gas and electricity utility in her hometown, and then she meets her friend Annie. And they were roommates in college, and Annie's her best friend. And Annie invites her to work at the same company she works in, which is The Circle. So May applies and she gets a job at The Circle. That is the symbol of the company. It is very well known because it's a company that employs 10,000 people. And it has been considered the best company in 4 years running, and it is a symbol that everybody knows already. And The Circle is, if you think of Google, Microsoft, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all together, that is The Circle. Okay? That kind of company. So the company was founded by Ty Gospodinov. It's not, I mean, these were pictures that I found online, never mind. So Ty was a visionary. If you think maybe Mark Zuckerberg, someone like that, very young, very good ideas. So Steve Jobs, maybe, yes. Yeah. So he founded the company with a program that I'm going to talk about later. But then he didn't like, I mean, he liked thinking about programs and things that to make people's lives easier. But then he didn't like the rest of the stuff that the company comes with. So he made partnership with two other people, Eamon Bailey and Tom Stanton. One of these is played by Tom Hanks, I can't remember who, but in the film. So these are the two people that are the face of the company, because Ty doesn't appear very much, is just an elusive figure, is just a picture on the wall, and he always appears with a hood over his head, so he's quite a mysterious person. And those are, the other two are the people who show up. So just to say, so Bailey is the showman, he's the person who is persuasive, he manages to convince people to do things. And Stanton is the CEO, and he's the CEO, so he decides who gets what, and is the person who squashes the enemies of the company. So this is the program that Ty envisioned, True You. And True You is like Twitter and Facebook and testing, all combined. So everything online is in that program. They say that True You is one button for the rest of your life online. So when Ty envisaged this, he decided that he wanted to make people's lives easier. He wasn't to rule the world or something like that. So that is what he intended to do. Let me just check my notes.
Já está muito outro, senhor. Está a baixar.
Sorry?
Já está a baixar o nome.
Yeah, I know that. True, I know. So, all communications online, all business transactions would go through you. What do you think were the consequences of that? So you don't need multiple passwords or identities online.
Lack of privacy.
There might be like a privacy. Okay, advantages. It's easier. Okay, so he got it. He wanted to make people's lives easier, so it's easier because you don't need to have different identities online. You don't have to have different passwords for every site you go on, for every account you have, because this is the account that you have. Okay, now disadvantages.
Once you get hacked, it takes
we
one
get
time.
that.
Yeah. So the point was, okay, this is, you don't have to have multiple passwords or identities, so problem solved, this is easier. The other side of this is that it is easier to get you hacked and your personal identity hacked, because everything is there, so all your identity online is in the same place, so that's the downside of this, it's easier to get you hacked. The company's slogan is, all that happens must be known. Does this remind you of anything?
Dictator?
Sorry?
I don't know.
No? All that happens must be known. So people have the right to know what happens. WikiLeaks? Okay. So as a matter of fact, Assange is mentioned in the book. Just by one of the characters, but this is the slogan of the company. All that happens must be known. So transparency is what they aim at.
So,
Yeah.
can you explain what WikiLeaks is?
Oh, WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is I'm not sure it could be called an organization, but Julian Assange, when a young man in Australia, is Australian, and he decided that he should expose things that are hidden from our knowledge as common citizens. So he became very famous a couple of years ago because he leaked some of CIA's documents about the war, many of them about the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, because he thought that people had the right to know what is going on, and some of conversations between diplomats were also leaked, and we had access to what diplomats said between each other, and some of the things weren't very nice, and some world leaders were upset about this. And then he was also now involved in the United States elections. He released some of Clinton's emails, and so in a way he helped Trump get the presidency. But anyway, the point of WikiLeaks, according to him, is that things must be known, so we have the right to know what happens behind closed doors and what the decision makers think of stuff. So now we have May, and when she starts working in the company, she goes to a place called customer experience, when she has to talk to people who buy the company's services, and she talks to people to rate the services. And she has to achieve a certain rate, which in the first week I think it's 97%. She has to convince people to rate the company very high. She does that, but it's a bit strange why people would bother. But anyway, that's what she does. And at the same time, she's given a new tablet and a new phone, and she's asked to get rid of her personal tablet and phone, and all her private and all her personal data are to be transferred to the cloud, to the company cloud. So all of her data is in the cloud, and so everybody in the company can access it. That is the first thing. So she's a bit, she's not very comfortable with it at first, but then she finally says goodbye to her tablet and phone, and there they go. All her data are going into the cloud. Okay, so her privacy is, well, part of her privacy is gone. And then she starts working, and one day one of the things she liked about the company were the amenities, the facilities, the buildings. The buildings are made of glass, again, this image of transparency, but they have everything. They have tennis courts and other sports facilities, they have parks, they have dorms if people don't want to go home overnight, they can stay there. They have lots of things, whatever you can think of. So she's amazed, she's overwhelmed by this. And one of the weekends she goes home, after the first week or something, when she goes home and when she comes back, she's called because she didn't attend a specific event that she was invited to. And it was, I found it interesting because it was the Portugal brunch. And one of her colleagues invited her to attend this Portugal brunch, and she didn't go. She didn't even bother to answer because she didn't see it. She wasn't used to it. So the reason why she was invited to this Portugal brunch was because a few years back she had been in Portugal, in the Algarve, and she had taken pictures. And because now all of her pictures are in the cloud, people could see it. So this guy thought, okay, she's been in Portugal, so it's probably a good idea, and he invited her, and she didn't attend. So when she came back from the weekend, she was called, and why didn't you go? Why didn't you attend this? And why didn't you say something? So this was something she wasn't used to. One of the things that she found strange. Another time was someone posted a message to her and she didn't reply. And again she was called, why didn't you reply? And it was simply because she hadn't read it. She didn't have time to do it. So what she found out was that besides her work, she was supposed to read all the messages and all her testings, and she had to answer people. So after some time, she spends a day working, and after work, she spends the time reading emails and answering invitations, and then she finds out, later.
Spoiler.
No, it's not a spoiler, but anyway. Then there's this thing called the Dream Friday. It's a weekly event, something like, when Apple does the presentations, so it's something like that, a stage, a big auditorium where all the employers go, and it's 10,000 of them, remember. And then they have the presentations, and then on this first Dream Friday, before that she had been at a party. She had met a colleague called Francis. They had got together, they spent some time together. And at this Dream Friday, they presented a program called Love Love. So this has to do with relationships, of course. Love Love. And then to give an example of how it works, that colleague of hers, Francis, went on stage and he decided to analyze May and her data. So this program is meant to, there's something you want to date, so you go online and you search for everything about that person that is online. So, before you meet the person, so what's the fun in it? But anyway, he did that and she didn't like it. But at first she didn't like being exposed, but then she was worried because she thought that people didn't get a full image. They got a superficial idea of who she is and not who she actually is. So she was worried that people might get a wrong idea about her. So that was a first experience of being exposed. This is another one. This is another program that the company has, Time Track, which it's nothing new. But the idea that we have while reading this book is that some of the things are not fiction. So child track, as the name says, is okay to track children. So the thing is, you implant this chip in a child. It is already, it does exist. Yeah, yeah, but it's not, what exists is under the skin. This one is a bit different, it's in the bone. So parents know all the time where the child is, so they don't get lost, if they get kidnapped or something. But it already exists. So this is called child track.
Onde é que estás?
In the book, it's implanted in the bone. But the one that exists now, it's just under the skin. It's a small chip, it's under the skin. Yeah, exactly, like a dog. So this is, apparently, it's a good thing, right? Then you would know where your child is all the time. Another program is this, Complete Health Data, CHAD. This allows well, someone, but in this case, all the people that can access the cloud, to know your health data, your clinical data all the time. Because you're wearing a wrist, and then when she goes to the first appointment with the doctor, she ingests a sensor. So, and she has a wrist band, something, that the sensor keeps sending signals to the wristband and into the cloud of how she feels and how she is. Is she okay? Is she eating well? Is her heart rate accelerated or not? So there goes your privacy again, a little bit more. But again, it's supposed to be good for you because people, if you're not feeling well, people will know. So. Let me check if I had. Okay, this also allows you to, the doctors. It allows you to predict what kind of diseases you can have by analyzing your inside data. You can foresee. Again, this sounds okay because she's told that if she doesn't start eating this or stop eating that, there's a possibility, because the doctor has analyzed her markers, there's this possibility that in the future, the possibility that she might have cancer. The good thing is, okay, you can prevent this from happening if you start eating that and stop eating the other things. What happens? The downside of this is that you might get worried about getting cancer, but it's just a possibility, so you are panicking for nothing. And, sorry? Also, again, it is good that someone knows what's going on with you. On the other hand, it's your privacy that goes down the drain. And I've just read this week or last couple of days, that in the United States, Trump has devised a new law that allows employers to do genetic tests on employees, so we can find out about their genetic condition. So before they weren't allowed, because this can lead to discrimination. Okay, the employers can fire people, sack people because they think, okay, this person is going to be ill in a couple of years, so we don't want them. So it was forbidden. It is in Portugal, but in the United States, it just became legal for the employers to run genetic tests and analyze your DNA and discriminate who you are and the job you can have. So again, not that much in fiction. Okay, this is another Dream Friday. Remember the ones where they present their programs. And this time, they present something called Sea Change. Sea Change. And as you can see in the picture, and it's explained there, it's a YouTube camera that video streams to everybody. So when the camera is, everybody can see what it is filming all the time to everybody who can access. So everybody who has an account at the company can access and see whatever is happening to what these cameras are filming. So what they say is, this is the ultimate transparency, no filter, see everything always. Again, this obsession with transparency, things without filter, and remember that as in online, in the circle, nothing ever is deleted. So what is online stays online. Don't forget that. That was the reading.
Os 15 minutos de leitura terminaram agora.
So, when he explains, when he shows this sea change camera, what he explains is that, okay, it's okay, we can see this, we can see nature, and remember, you surfers, that there's a camera in Carcavelos on the beach, so we can see live what's happening. So, something like that. So we can watch nature, we can control traffic, you know, okay, you're going somewhere, just let me have a look at how the traffic is before I go. But what they really want is to, okay, we can fight crime. We all know that there are cameras all over the place in many cities in the world, again, to fight crime. And what he aims at the end is that he can control people. Instead of just open places and the outside, he can control people. But we're going to see that.
But that's his
And
idea.
again, all that happens must be known. Yeah?
It's his idea to control people?
Yeah, it is. Baby. Okay, so now we have the circle. We have those transparent buildings and all the good facilities, everything is organized, everybody's happy. And then we have the outside. May starts feeling that the circle, within the circle, everything's perfect, the outside is very chaotic, things are disorganized, and so she starts feeling that she's not so comfortable on the outside, She's not so comfortable on the outside. And because she has that load of work, because after work she has to invite people and discuss things and answer emails and answer invitations and join discussions, so she spends more and more time in the circle. Sometimes she doesn't go home, she sleeps there. So she's divided between the circle and the outside, but she's becoming more of a circle person. Okay, so who's on the outside? Her parents.
The dog.
Her parents are, the link to the circle besides herself is that they find out that her father has a disease. He has multiple sclerosis, and because he can't afford the payments for the treatments, in the circle they suggest that she includes her parents within the same insurance plan that she has. What comes with that insurance plan to pay for his treatments is that they have to have sea change cameras in their house. Yes. Okay. More on the outside is her ex-boyfriend, Mercer, and that is the actual actor. It's not. It's just someone who doesn't understand why she is so obsessed with numbers. Because within the circle, besides having to answer and all that stuff that she does, everything is evaluated and rated, and there are numbers for everything, and there are groups, and there are top this and top that. And so when he talks to her, he doesn't understand why she's, sorry?
It's achievements.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And he doesn't understand why she's so obsessed with this. He does handicraft, so he's sort of the opposite of her. He's the antagonist, she's the protagonist, he's the antagonist of the story. And even later in the book, he says that even when they are face to face, they're never alone, because she put his work online, and she's always reading the ratings and the comments that people do on his work, and so he feels that even when they are face to face, when they're talking face to face, they're never alone, because she's always, her mind is always in a different place online. One other thing that's connected to the outside is kayaking. She likes kayaking, and it is her relationship to nature. She goes out, and again, one of the times that she goes kayaking, when she comes back, again, she's called because, okay, if you like kayaking, why don't you post, why don't you send pictures, why don't you post your comments, how you feel about kayaking, because other people like to know, other people like kayaking too, so they have the right to know your opinion about this. So again, she's becoming part of the machine. She's becoming a clock instead of a person. Anyway, this is the outside. Okay, so we've seen that she starts working at customer experience, but then she has this other thing called party rank. This is the first extra layer of her work. Party rank is a rating, a ranking thing, and they have a punctuation according to the things they do, the events they attend, the discussions they join. So, and her aim is to first to get to the top 2,000, and she does that by, for example, one night not sleeping, or doing all those things. And after a month or so, she gets to the top 10, which is quite amazing. But by that time, she doesn't go home, she sleeps there, and when she sleeps. So she's really becoming obsessed with this. But it all starts sounding very natural. Then she has another extra layer, which is circle surveys. She gets a headset, you know, that thing that, okay, sometimes we think that people are talking to us, but they're not. Okay, it's because it's a survey. So, as it says there, she surveys consumers for the products that they sell, and it's another thing she does on top of her work. And then she has this conversion rate in retail raw. So she tracks the impact that products have on people's lives. Again, another rating part of her job. And besides that, Zing is what it's maybe the equivalent of tweeting and texting. It's something that they do. And they don't have likes and dislikes, they have smiles and frowns. And then smiles and frowns. And then she has to comment on things, apart from all that. She comments on things, she joins discussions and events, she befriends people, lots of people follow her, and then she invites people to do things like that, or she's invited to. So this is what her day has become. So it's, besides the customer experience, which was she started doing, then she has to worry about her rank in party rank, and then she does the surveys, and she tracks people on how the products impacted on their lives, and she does all that, and she doesn't sleep, because they still has 24 hours. Okay, another Dream Friday. And by then, this sea change is going to, now I have to consult my notes. This time,
Someone was
I know. Okay. And remember that this is no filter and all that happens must be known, which is the company slogan. And then Stanton, who is that person that first introduced the tiny cameras, he shows a man that, invites a man that for the past 5 years has been recording all moments of his life. So he's carrying a camera on his neck, and he has been recording that, and now people can see it. And this is what he really wants people to do. So he thinks that politicians should be transparent and should be open, and we should have access to what they decide, how they decide it, and everything that is happening, again, behind closed doors. So transparency, this kind of transparency is what he really wants. So he informs the audience that there's a congresswoman that has decided to go transparent. That's what they call it. She has decided to go transparent, so she's going to carry that camera, and so people will be allowed to see whatever she does all day long, who she talks to, hear the conversations, and see everything. Okay. The only time we don't see things is when people go to the toilet, of course. Then the image freezes and the sound is cut. So that is the only private moment that people have, and that people can cheat on the system, of course. Well, they don't have much time, because once that she does that to talk to, I can't remember who exactly, and after some time she has people beeping to say, okay, what happened? You've been silent for too long. So yeah.
Dat is best wel leuk.
What happens is, after some time, more congressmen and women start going transparent, and after a couple of weeks or months, most of the politicians are transparent, and the ones who are not are being looked at, okay, if you have nothing to hide, why don't you go transparent? So this is the atmosphere that is happening. Also, another thing is that elected officials that criticize the circle, by coincidence, happen to be charged with criminal offences online. And so, yes, just a coincidence. Okay. Oh God, I thought I would take less time than this. Okay, once, when she comes back from visiting her parents, she goes by the place where she uses to go kayaking, but it's already night, so the place is closed. But she notices that one of the kayaks is out of place, and so she thinks, okay, it's already out of place. Maybe someone just came back later and didn't have time to put it in the right place. So if I use it, I'm doing nothing wrong. So she goes kayaking, she rows to an island, so it's a contact with nature. And when she comes back, she's putting the kayak back to the beach, and then she is arrested, okay? Because there was a sea change camera, and two people who saw what happened called the circle. So she and the police, and so she was arrested for taking the kayak without permission. Even though the owner of the kayaks pressed no charges because she knew May and she didn't bother with that. But anyway, she was arrested, and her punishment, this is, I'm not going to read you of course because it's a long dialogue, but it's amazing. She's called to Bailey's office, and the way he leads her into saying that she shouldn't have done this, and she accepts that she's going transparent, and that is a good thing. It's an amazing dialogue, really. So what happens is, and then she decides, and she herself, in one of those meetings for the whole company, she comes up with the new slogans. So secrets are lies. You should have no secrets because you're lying to other people. Sharing is caring. So if you care for other people, you should share everything about you. Your feelings, your activities, your opinions. And privacy is theft. So you're stealing from other people if you're holding something back as private. So these are the new slogans of the company. Besides all must be known, then we have secrets are lies, sharing is caring, and privacy is theft. And another of those meetings, this one is called the Concept Kingdom meeting, which is a bit... and then when she comes up with those slogans, she accepts being transparent. So from now on, she's the company for the people who follow her account. So she's carrying a camera around her neck, and she's showing whatever happens in the company to the people who follow her. She ends up having millions of followers, those people who start beeping, what happens, you've been in the toilet for too long. So she's showing whatever happens in the company. So she really goes transparent because she ceases to exist, okay? She is the company. She's not her anymore. And then in this one meeting, they come up with this idea of democracy. Oh God, sorry. So it's gone.
Não sei spoiler, não.
Diga como é que acaba.
The idea is that everything that people do should be done through that account. So besides having all the taxes paid and business transactions, and you register for votes in that account, and what he ends up saying at the end of the meeting is that, okay, if we all do this, we don't need governments anymore. So because people do this, it's truly democratic. Democracy is this, because everybody does that online. So everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and everybody decides about things. So this is true democracy. That's the point. That's what he wants, really. Again, all that happens is, okay, Past Perfect, very quickly, is another program where you can scan people's past. And the first person, the volunteer, is Annie. But things don't go right because they discover that her family had connections to slavery. And he lives somewhere. But she can't find him because of the cameras all over the place. She can find him, and she sends drones to follow him, and he ends up driving off a bridge, and so he kills himself because he couldn't take it. And so this is the completion when there is no government after all because you don't need it. And what happens is her parents don't talk to her anymore. Her boyfriend is dead, and she doesn't go outside, so she doesn't kayak anymore. So that is her life, a big void. And her friend collapsed and is in a coma. And when she's there with a friend, she thinks, okay, wouldn't it be great if we could understand what people are thinking when they are in a coma? And that's when she says, the world deserves nothing less and would not wait.
Obrigado.
And that's the end.
Já não vou-
Sorry, I took so long.